Hey everyone, it's your host Dan. Today I'm going to be doing some DIY dryer repair. My dryer here in question is not heating up the way it should. Sometimes the heat kicks in and sometimes it's not even on at all. And we regularly clean the filter there, so that's not the issue. And when this happens, that indicates to me it's probably going to be some kind of restriction or flow, or the lint's building up too much. This dryer here is pretty much pinned in the corner, so I'm going to have to move it away from the wall. I'm just going to move it in the other room, and we're going to give it the once over, and hopefully we'll get this working just the way it was when it was brand new. I found here at the terminal block L2, which is the wire on the very right side, the screw was just a little bit loose. It was connected, but it was loose where you could kind of wiggle the wire a little bit, and that would have been done at the factory, so I got that tightened up. Everything with the outlet's okay, and the 240 is fine coming into the dryer. So if it's not heating up, the first thing I'm going to suspect is that the exhaust tube is going to be plugged up. There'll be a lot of lint inside, which this is pretty clear, and so is the exhaust port going out the wall too. Right off the bat, that I don't see that as really being a problem. I do see on the vents here there's traces of lint kind of hanging off it, so I'm going to go a little further in depth. I'm going to pull the back cover off. There's just 1/4 inch bolts around the edge holding it on, and we're going to take a further look inside of the dryer. Of course, I got my supervisor over here watching my every move. I'll pull the tube off, and once again there's a little bit of lint in here, but it's really not that bad. This would have been compressed sort of like this, so it would have been pretty much straight through. There's not too much in here. Now that I've got all the screws out, I can lift the back cover off. I was really expecting to see a lot more lint in this. We haven't moved this dryer in probably 3-4 years or so, embarrassingly so, but there's not really that much lint on the inside. There's some. Now this part right here is where the dryer filter goes in behind, and it comes down, and there's a blower motor, like a little squirrel cage behind here, and some of the lint can build up down here in this corner. So I'm going to want to get this cover off and inspect too behind here to make sure that there's not like a buildup of lint down in here. But here in the filter area, there's a couple Phillips screws that need to be removed. With those 6 screws removed, this cover is just easily going to come right off. Here on the exhaust port from the drum itself, there's a lot of built up lint. It's kind of caked here. You can pull this off. I'm going to have to clean all this up, but more importantly, down the tube where the air flows goes down towards the blower motor. Wow, look at that. There is a bunch of lint down in here. Almost looks like if a mouse got in here, he'd have a nice little cozy hotel down in here for sure. So right here on the exit part of the drum where I'm starting to pick away the lint, there's like a foam gasket around here, and this gasket's just, it's deteriorated. It's kind of like an old speaker surround on a 20-year-old speaker. It's no good anymore. If I pinch it, it doesn't flex back, and it instantly crumbles. So this is all going to have to be removed, and I'll get some new foam. It looks like it's about maybe 3/8 by 3/8. Here, I can just peel it off. Cool. You know, over time, from the heat, from it getting hot and cooling down, the foam is just going to naturally break down. So looks like here, if I can get it under the sticker, I can easily just peel that right off. There's still a lot of lint in between all these little circles, which might be kind of, you don't want to rub on this. So to get it off real easy, I'm going to use a detailing brush like you would use on a car's dashboard in conjunction with the shop vac, and that'll make it really easy just to get that nice and clean. After removing the foam, there's still a little bit of a sticky layer on here that I'm going to want to get off so that the new foam sticks a lot better. I'm going to use some label and sticker remover on a rag and just go around and make that all nice and clean. So this is now prepped and ready. for the new foam. Down here at the motor, same thing. There's insulation here and it's pretty much about gone. It's just about dry rotted. It's compromised, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and clean all this up, clean off this face, get this foam off of here and get I feel some lint here under this very edge where the fan is. Let's see how much I can get out right here. That's a nice little chunk right there, just under the fan blades. And again, I gotta be careful here because I'm running my finger against, you know, an edge of sheet metal. I don't want to cut my finger. So I'm trying to feel for a sharp edge, make sure there is no sharp edge. Looks like our fan blades are a little dirty, and hey, this brush really helps because I can get in here and get all that lint right there off that blade pretty easily. This lint here is kind of, it's a little stuck on. I mean, I have to use some finger effort there to remove it, but the brush seems to get in there and do a pretty good job and get it all off nice and neatly. So I'm going to go around all these blades and get all that off of there. Things are now pretty clean on the outside of the blower motor. Where the exhaust comes out, I want to reach my hand in here and see if there's any lint that's packed up on the edges of the interior of the housing. There's a little bit, and I could just use a rag and further wipe out the inside. I was almost going to pull these sensors and clean them off, but there's really no need because I can feel them from the other side. I can get most of all that dust and dirt off of them. Okay, next up, we're going for all the fur down here in the bottom of the tube. Parts you've been waiting for. Whoa. Look at that. There's a lot in here. Blech. Oh, what's this? What do we got here? Looks like there's something in there. Kind of piece of metal here. Okay, that's the bulk of it. I'm going to want to make sure I clean this face off too and get all that. Oh, it's crumbling away. All the weather strip that's around that too. So that was quite the bit of junk that was in there in the tube. I figured out this is an underwire for a bra. Imagine that stuck in the dryer. Okay, I'll lay the tube down. And I'm going to use the rag to further clean it off and go inside of it. That'll further pull the lint off, especially with a microfiber towel. It'll get everything nice and clean on the inside. There we go. See that ball right there? Yep. Oh, look at all that. Down in the ductwork here on the back wall, there's like quite a bit of it that built up in the back, but the rag will easily just push that all out of the way and make that nice and clean. Whoa, there's a big dust bunny. Look at that, that just came off. That was on the inside right here. There's quite a bit of a buildup right there. A little bit here on top. Went to the store and got some foam window seal. This is 3/8 by 1/2 inch. This will work just fine. And I'm going to put it around those two openings. Now that I've got the vent pipe clean as a whistle inside and out, the foam gasket's been reapplied to the blower motor and up here. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall it. I took the back cover off the top. That's just a few more screws around the perimeter too. I got some dust bunnies floating in up here. And would you take a look at this? Look, there's a schematic. A piece of paper here taped down, show you the wiring circuit. I think that's pretty cool that the manufacturer did that for this dryer, that included a schematic here. So I'll get all this cleaned up and out of here. This is a lot of lint up here at the top. To release the control part from the top, you can use a paint scraper in here. Push in there, there's a little clip, and this will pop up. Okay, I lifted the top part up. It's just these snaps in front. You can do the same kind of paint scraper trick and pry it up. It'll pop out of the way. There's going to be a clip here for your door sensor. And then there's a 5/16 inch screw right here. Now after removing the screw in the left and right corner, this will kind of pull up and off. Might have to just kind of move the tub a little bit backwards in order to do so. There's nothing holding it on the bottom. And as we can see, there's a little bit more dust bunnies down in there. So we'll get those cleaned up. I'm going to release the belt on the drum, and to do so, you're just going to push back on the little wheel enough for the belt to slide off. There we go. Easy as that. And with the belt unhooked, I should be able to lift the tub right up on and out of here. And we'll just set that off to the side. Alright, so let's take a look at the filth that's down in here. No worries, I'm going to get it all cleaned out. This will all look like brand new, but taking the tub out gives me the opportunity to get, you know, all the corners here behind the motor and around all that I would never be able to get to. Everything is spotless now down here in the lower part, so I'm going to go ahead and put the drum back in. The back edge of the drum is going to rest on those little wheels in the back. I'm going to attach the bracket again by pushing up, and then I'm just going to push the belt over the end of the shaft. Belt's now back in place like so. Now I was going to make sure that the belt is on the line of the drum, that you can see where it kind of wore into place. I'm going to now put the front door back on, and it's going to slide into these catches down here on the left and the right. I've got a helper holding the drum up just a little bit, so that way it can fit inside the door and make it a lot easier to get this back on. Here in the back, where there's like this, almost it's like a gasket, you want to make sure that that's not tucked in. When we first put the tub in, it was folded over just a little bit, and that might have went around and around like that. So we want to make sure that that gasket's fully on the outside, the belt's running around the tub in just the same place it was, and everything rotates nice and smooth with the tub. Screws are back in, the 5/16 in the left and the right corners. We also plugged in the door switch once again, so the front panel's pretty easy. That's back on. You might have to lift the tub up and around, back and forth, to get it seated in the door. You know, it just takes a little finessing, but it's not too hard to get that on there. The top, we can just lower down now, and it goes on these black hooks here, which are just going to catch in place, and there we go, locks into place. Put our screws back in for the lint filter up here at the top that holds that vent. Next up, I'll just double check the electronics in this. This part up here is the high limit switch, and I've got my meter set up to measure resistance. Just double check it here with the leads together. It should be close to 0, somewhere around 0.1, 0.2, or what the meter leads are going to read. Okay, so I can just unplug this from the circuit, and I can measure it with the leads. And there we go, 0.1. So the idea is that the current is normally going to flow through this switch unless it's tripped. This one kind of works like almost like a fuse, this high limit switch here. So make sure I get those terminals back on there, nice and firm. That's good. If I didn't get a reading close to 0, this switch would need to be replaced. Down here there's two parts. There's a thermostat and also the two conductors for the heating element. So I can pull one of these tabs off here. And I can test for the thermostat, which is the same thing. It'll be like a normally closed switch. There we go, 0.2. And then I just pop the thermostat off, just so I have one terminal undone, and I'm just going to check the resistance of the burner. Looks like we're getting 9.7 on the meter over there, about 10. It's about what it should be. On the left side, there's this right here. This is like a thermal fuse right here. If this was popped, it wouldn't even start at all, so I know this is good. But same thing, you could do a continuity check on that. This is the operating thermostat, and I can do the same thing by disconnecting the lead. Check for continuity here on the red wires. 0.2, that's about what it should be. If I wanted to too, I could check on the purple wires. Those will show a little bit of resistance. And then at the two purple wires, we're getting about 7.13K resistance. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug everything back in. Switch is good. Before I button up the top, I unplug this plug to the timer. We got terminals A, B, and C. A and B, we got continuity. B and C, we have continuity. And A and C, we have continuity. There's contacts inside these switches, which sometimes can get dirty and might need to be cleaned up. I put the back panels back on, the ductwork down at the bottom. Everything has been completely cleaned out, 100% inside and out, electrically tested. All I've got to do is go reinstall it and plug it in. Put it back in place, gave it a test. The heat is still working a little bit intermittent. So the next step, I'm going to go for the timer switch, which is usually the culprit on these, which fails the contacts inside. I'm going to take it out and we're going to take it apart and get that cleaned up and see if that fixes it. I've taken the switch out of the front control panel because I think this is where the problem's going to be. It's really easy to take the switch apart. It's only the two screws that hold on the motor from underneath, but the trick is when you take that top panel off there, you want to make sure you have the terminals down so that the cams and stuff don't fall out onto the ground and you don't know where to put them. I've already taken one of these cams out here. Now the terminals is where we're going to focus, the very end right here where they make contact. The A, B, and C, especially between A and B, it's very black. So I've taken some 180 grit sandpaper, folded in half, and I place it between the contacts, and I rotated the knob so that the contacts are touching, and I'm going to sand the contacts nice and clean while they're together. That way they get sanded nice and flat together. I've reinstalled the switch. I'm just going to hold down the door sensor and turn the dryer on. Should only take just a few seconds and the heat should come on. There we go. It's heating up really nicely. And now even if we try wiggling the switch a little bit, it doesn't cut out. So I'm gonna say the dryer's fixed. Okay, so I'm all done with the dryer. It's working great, 100%, just like it was brand new. The real culprit was that timer, the contacts inside was not allowing power to flow through it down to the heater element. Also cleaned out the lint from the inside, and on the inside of the lint trap, the vent tube, that got about a softball sized ball of lint out of here, which if that accumulates too much in a dryer, of course, can create a fire. And this terminal on the back was slightly loose. I got that tightened down. I don't really think that was a problem here, but that's just something else I found. So really I found 3 issues on this dryer. The main issue why it wasn't heating was the timer circuit. All it really cost me was $6 for the foam to go around the vent tube for the lint trap, and I saved myself about $400 or $500 in the process by not having to buy a new dryer. So hopefully if you're watching this video, it can help you to get your dryer fixed very easily, very inexpensively. Hope you enjoyed the tips here. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. And as always, thanks for watching.